Hi everyone, my name is May. I have Russian and American blood in my blood. My grandmother, my mother's mother, was Russian, but because my grandmother moved to the US early, I have never seen my small motherland. I was born here. My mom met my dad when she was 16, back in high school, and I moved here when I was 2 years old, so I knew nothing about the Russian side except a love of the language and an interest in the cuisine. So one day, I signed up for a course. It was difficult to get to that teacher. He was considered the best in his field, and his courses cost a fortune. I was planning to visit Moscow in the future and dreamed of talking to the locals like a local, so my parents agreed to pay for my studies. By the way, I made some great friends there. We all hung out together for some time and learned to cook traditional borscht and pancakes with dumplings. And then one day, our teacher said that we were waiting for the most difficult exam of the whole course. We had to write an essay in Russian. Besides that, we had to tell millions of rules, determine all kinds of declensions, and give examples. In short, I worked tirelessly. In addition to studying at high school, I also studied at night. I had a terrible lack of sleep. And then, as luck would have it, they switched the school math teacher. She was also a woman of the old school. She decided to take the exam the day before the exam in my classes. I was going crazy, not knowing what subject to study for. Miss Trevor, can I come to the exam another day? The thing is, I have another important exam after tomorrow, I told the teacher. I wanted to at least score a few days. If I didn't pass the exam in the course, I would be expelled, and then all my efforts would go in vain. And I'd been studying for a year. My parents would kill me. But in response, I received a slanting look of contempt. The teacher said that she would call me to the blackboard first, so that I would be free. In this way, I only made things worse for myself. Courses fell by the wayside. I threw my energy into math. As promised, the teacher called me first. I had to take the test, answer some questions orally, and solve some examples and equations on the board. Well, I did well. Then I ran off to my classmates. We decided to have a group study session, and one of them opened a basket of food and some interesting bottle of clear liquid. "What is it?" we asked, sitting in his room. He told us that his parents had brought it back from Russia from a work trip. "They're not home. They went there again. And they'll bring more, I know. It's like water, only vodka. After it, Dad usually projects twice as fast. I think it's some kind of energy drink. We could use it before the exam tomorrow," he said. So we poured the contents in equal portions into glasses and drank it. The rest I vaguely remember. I woke up in the morning to my alarm. "Oh no, we have the exam! We overslept! Get up, hurry up!" I yelled, getting ready, but my classmates could barely get up. I ran to the exam and was waiting for them and got there first. Shit, what am I going to do? It's not like I haven't studied anything. Last time the teacher told me to work on my pronunciation, but I didn't do that either. Damn that water, or whatever it is, I said to myself and walked into the office. The professor was sitting alone. "Please excuse my tardiness, sir. My classmates are on their way," I said and sat down. The teacher gawked and asked, "Why are you so tortured? And why are you all so late?" I got up from my seat, looked at the floor, and said, "Something happened. We were actively studying for the exam. I understand that we made a mistake, but we really prepared," I said and apologized again. "I can see that you were preparing." "Yes, Huh? What?" "Your pronunciation in Russian. It's perfect." "What are you talking about?" "You're speaking Russian fluently for the first time this year. You're doing great. I'll give you an A. You passed the exam." "But I'm not..." And then I listened to myself. For real. I was speaking in Russian, and I didn't even have to think about it. I came out with an A on my report card. The professor didn't even say anything to the other kids when they came in after me. I met them after class and asked them how they passed the test. My classmate said I wasn't in class now and I could speak English, but I couldn't. "What did you do to me? Did you put something in my drink?" I yelled, but they didn't understand me. They asked me to stop joking around in Russian, but I wasn't joking around. I ran home and asked my mom for help, but she thought I was joking, and then she even got angry. "Speak normally! What are you babbling about?" she asked, but I couldn't. I spoke as I was, but in a different language. How could I know it? I wrote Russian words and English letters in the group chat room. The guys thought I was cracking up. In the evening, I went to Austin, the same classmate, and told him I wanted another drink. I thought it might help me. The guys spoke Russian, but then somehow figured out what I wanted. They understood me and gave me another drink. It affected me. I was terribly intoxicated. Austin offered to feed me borscht, and I ate as much as I could because of my condition. All the red borscht got on my white t-shirt and blue jeans and stained my mouth. And then all of a sudden, his parents came home. Everyone escaped out the window. Austin hid the vodka, me under his bed, and met the folks himself. They went into his room and smelled it, and then I started hiccuping loudly. Austin's mom asked where the sounds were coming from, to which Austin said he was on the phone with a girl and she had the hiccups. Then he asked them to leave. Austin's dad was the last one out. He walked up to Austin and said, "Did you touch my minibar?" Austin shook his head, and then his dad said, "Come on, I'm not going to swear. I tried it for the first time when I was your age too. Just don't tell your mom. You've got caffeine in your room," he said and walked out. When they were gone, Austin said, "Come on out." I couldn't even stand up properly. I felt bad. I was wobbly and dizzy. "I have to go home," I said, but Austin brought me in and left me at the door, rang the doorbell, and ran out. The bastard didn't want to show his face in front of my folks, but one thing he hadn't considered was that I couldn't explain anything to them. My mother opened the door, and with horror, she lifted me off the ground. She asked questions, but I couldn't answer them. Or rather, I answered, but she couldn't understand. "Can you explain to me normally what happened?" "I told you I drank. I thought it would get better, but it didn't. Mom, don't you understand?" "Darling, it's good that you came from work. Look at her. She's mocking. She's speaking in Russian." "Daughter, what happened? Did someone get you drunk?" "No, I did it myself. I told you I did it myself." "See, she's speaking Russian again. We don't understand a damn thing. Stop joking around." "I'm not. Help me, damn it." My father put me in the car and took me to the hospital, but on the way I felt sick. I felt like I was going to throw up. "Daddy, open the window. I feel sick," I said, but Daddy didn't do anything. Daddy, can you hear me?" And then it was too late. "Oh no, daughter, why didn't you at least ask me to open the window?" he yelled, and I was sick of it all. I wrote him the address and pointed my finger to drive me there. "Why do we need your teacher?" my father asked, but he and my mother took me to him. I told the teacher everything, and he translated it into English for my parents. They were so shocked. So was he. And then he laughed. "What's so funny? I've forgotten my native language." "I guess I was too strict a teacher. Your daughter has a mild cognitive disorder." "What does that mean?" "She was overexcited before the exam, and then the intoxication. It all boiled down to the fact that she'd actually learned a great language this year, and in order not to make a mistake, or rather out of fear of failing the exam, her brain decided to temporarily get rid of what might be interfering, another language." "Is it temporary?" "Yes, it will pass soon. You understand English, you just don't speak it. You need to rest. I'll release you for a week, especially since you passed all your previous exams as well." "Fuck it," I said excitedly. My mother tongue came back to me after 5 days. I also just woke up and started talking. My parents were happy. It was hard to talk with a translator. The good thing was that I haven't forgotten my Russian. Austin got a thank you from me and a slap on the wrist for leaving me alone at the front door. Well, now I'm bravely saving up for a trip to Moscow, and I know for sure that the language barrier will not be a problem, especially if I drink that water, or whatever it is.
Hi everyone, my name is Dickie, and I want to share with you the story of how my family disowned me. I agree that this is hard to believe, and any normal person will first think that this is a monstrous act, that you can't do this, and that only monsters are capable of it. But you know what? All. What is done is all for the best. I saw this for myself, because after this incident, I became a really happy teenager. I was born in a family where there were usually no guests, where the house was always a mess, and usually there was nothing to eat except semi-finished products or fast food. At first, let me tell you about every member of my family. This is my father, Pays, who is older than middle-aged, but still has a strong personality, such an energetic man with a huge mustache. My dad always liked to dress brightly, like a red jacket or a fun hat. My father didn't know where he worked. It was like this all his life. Maybe I don't know where he works, or no one knows, but he was clearly doing something illegal. I wasn't interested in the details, so I just kept out of his business. My mother, Susanna, loved herself, her nails, and her stupid dog, Linda, too much to have time for her own children. I don't remember my mother ever cooking food from the stove, and in general, we only needed the kitchen in the house to eat, but not to cook. If my mother didn't eat, she was surfing the internet or flipping through magazines with a dog in her arms. She didn't work because my father provided for us well enough. I also have a brother, Palmer. He was as dumb as our dog. Palmer looked like the Pope, was the same full and narrow-minded as both parents. I know you can't say that, but it's true. None of my ancestors had even finished high school, and Palmer was almost on the dropout list. It is not clear at all who I went to. I was not like any of these three, either in appearance or character. Thank God, in brain. I was different. Palmer often joked about how I was stupidly thrown and that I was not native. But I was not particularly upset, but on the contrary. As you already understood, I didn't find a common language with my family, so I didn't really talk. Usually, I'd come home from school, lock myself in my room, do my homework, prepare my sandwiches. While I was doing my homework, I would eat a meal, after, or rest, or go for a walk. I had a couple of friends. They were cool guys. One of them I was best friends with. His name is Ryan. This is my best friend, and we lived not far from each other, on the next street. Ryan always helped me with my lessons or whatever. Every time my parents went on a party, he and his mother would leave me at their house so I could spend the night there in peace. I just loved those moments. Ryan's home environment was very different. He didn't have a father, but his cool mom was so kind. When I came, his mother would cook a delicious dinner, meat with vegetables, casserole, spaghetti, or something else homemade. I loved this kind of food, and I was tired of sandwiches for a long time. Ryan's mother was surprised when I told her about my parents, and felt sorry for me. I knew she was right when she said it shouldn't be like this. It would be nice to stay at Ryan's house. By the way, he asked me to stay more than once, and each time I wanted to, but I couldn't. I knew how my crazy ancestors would react. They would make a big deal of it and yell at the whole street that I had been stolen. And then what should have happened? Palmer loved trying on her clothes and putting on makeup without knowing it. I knew it because I saw it. He promised to kill me if I told, so I didn't. Once again, while parents were out, Palmer ran to the parents' bedroom, and this time he's a little over the top. I told you he's a chubby guy, and he's gained even more recently. Anyway, he tore up my mom's Chanel dress, which was super expensive. At that moment, my mother came home, and this idiot ran out to her, shouting that I had torn her dress. My mother believed her beloved son and gave me a beating. I got so that it did not seem enough. After the punishment, I was so angry that I ran into Palmer's room, pushed him off the chair, and started hitting him in the face. My mother ran to our screams, picked me up, pushed me out the door, and said that I was not a child, but an animal. My father came in the evening and gave me a punishment for it. Palmer was an innocent child. I was so tired of the injustice that I started to cry. My parents, feeling sorry for the older one, pointed a finger at the door. The father shouted that I was no longer his son. I ran out of the house and ran wherever I could see. I've never felt this bad before. No, I'm not upset that I got kicked out. I'm upset that everything is so unfair to me. It took strength and patience. I ran, not knowing where, in the end. My feet led me to a familiar house, a house with which I associate only good things, a house where I am warm and cozy, where I am always welcome. "Hi, Dickie. Come in, of course," said Ryan and his mother to me. They gave me a delicious dinner, during which I described the situation. Ryan's mother was horrified, and then made a bed for me in Ryan's room. I lived there for 4 days. On the 4th day, my parents came to my school. Suddenly, my mother and father began to apologize. They asked me to forgive them, offered to buy toys, books, and I did not understand what was happening. I came home in the evening and didn't recognize the house. It was clean, for the first time in my life. My mother did the cleaning herself, cooked dinner, and everyone was at the common table, eating with appliances and treating me. I was alarmed by the behavior, but I ate and went to my room. At night, I went to the kitchen for a drink of water and heard the family talking. Do you realize that we can stay outside, right? Why did your mother choose Dickie and leave him the house as her inheritance? He can kick us out, you know, my mother shouted at my father, and Dad yelled back at her that it was all her fault for giving birth to someone as defective as me. And then it all became clear to me. My grandmother left the house to me, in which we lived, so it is rightfully mine. But I didn't want to live with them. I wanted to live alone now, because they were away from me. I took out a recorder and recorded everything my parents said about me, including that they wished me dead. The next day, the police and guardianship authorities heard the recording, and Ryan and his mother were next to me. As a result, my parents were deprived of the rights, even jailed for a while for threatening me, and Palmer and I were supposed to be sent to boarding school, but I didn't want to go there. At this point, Ryan's mother offered to help me and I agreed. She adopted me. After we finished everything, we moved into my big house, and the three of us lived there. Now I had a new family, much better and kinder, just like I wanted. What would you do if you were me? Write your opinion in the comments, put likes, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel.